Hello and welcome. I'm Gauhar Raza and you are watching Eureka. Scientists have built the nation and scientists have built the food security. One of the major names today in this particular area who has contributed a lot as far as food security is concerned is Dr. Prabhu. Welcome to Rajya Sabha channel.
Thank you.
Welcome to Eureka. I'm extremely thankful that you gave time to us. Let's begin from the beginning. You come from a family which had agrarian background.
Yeah.
So it's ingrained in your probably blood stream to work for something which is in the field.
Yeah.
You're not a scientist of that kind who has no idea of what happens outside the four walls of the boundaries. When did you get interested in science?
This is a good question. Like any other kid around the block in a rural environment, I too initially started off with thinking of myself as a pilot or a doctor or an engineer. That is in my very early days when I was in a small township called Puttur in Karnataka, where I grew up till my standard 2. My father was an agricultural graduate from Coimbatore, and he was working for the government of Mysore at that time, now Karnataka. And he was somebody whom I found was getting the respect from the farmers. Whosoever, I would not understand who a farmer is because I was in a town, not really living on the farm. But it is a suburban development, very close by fields were there. I could see several people who are attached with the field would come to him, ask him something, and he would give something, and they come back after some time and are very thankful to him and bow their head and even put their hands on their feet.
And this made your father your role model initially?
Initially, yes. And then I slowly realized that this respect the person is getting is because of the help he has been rendering to those rural peasants. So that was the first thing that affected me in making myself understood as a person, understanding myself as a person who should be contributing to the system. Then when I went to...
You were a good student.
I was a good student.
A
yes.
very good student,
Yeah,
in
yes.
fact.
Yeah.
And you always stood either first or second in the class.
Yes.
And you scored top ranks.
Yeah.
But then your father's early death must have been a major shock.
It was.
Did it affect your studies?
Fortunately not. Of course, it did give me a little bit of anxiety because there was nobody I could turn to, really speaking. My mother was always supportive to me. That is something which was refreshing because she never interfered in any decision I took as far as my career was concerned. Including,
so will I be right to say that major shock was taken by your mother?
Yeah.
And it was not passed on to the children,
Yes.
3 children.
Very correct.
You were the eldest.
Yeah, I was eldest.
In the family.
Yeah, that's true. And this is the time when one would go for engineering or medicine as the first 2 priorities. In a normal,
you wanted to be a doctor?
I wanted to be a doctor, yes. Initially, I wanted to be
and
a
your
doctor.
mother wanted you to be a doctor?
Yeah, she also expressed that. But my second priority was agriculture.
But how come you didn't get selected for?
There were very few seats in medicine, and I lost by very few. At that time, it was only marks which you scored in your pre-university was the one deciding factor, and I lost by 1.2% or so. But that is because only 47 seats were there in the state.
You were the best of the student and you lost. Was it because of the father and family problem at that time? Did it affect you?
It could have because I never participated in any of those activities like coaching and appearing to find out how best we can get the marks that way. It was nothing of that kind. And those are the days when there was a lot of difficulty in terms of getting regular food. I was one of the people in the family who would look for the days when something has arrived in the PDS shop, and I would have to stand in line up and look for it, whether it's kerosene or sugar or wheat.
Present generation probably doesn't know
even
what
know that,
kind
yes.
of hardship we have gone through.
Yeah, so it was those periods. So I would not really, and because my father wasn't there, and it was a joint family like, there was no personal. I'm not blaming my mother for because she would not know. She was a art graduate, and she was doing everything that would support whatever I asked for. I did not ask
and
for.
And that is how
problem.
you landed up in Banaras Hindu University.
Yes, my father's elder brother.
Because everybody else probably in the family opposed that don't send the child so far off.
Yes,
but your mother stood by you.
Yes, she stood by me. Yes.
Was it a cultural shock? Because you grew up in southern part of India, and suddenly you land up in a university which is heavily dominated by Hindi-speaking northern.
Yeah, that is true. It was a shock, but I had an expectation because I was an ardent follower of Atal Bihari Vajpayee for his eloquent way of speaking, and I had listened to him quite a few times in Bangalore and Mysore where I was. I would take time to go and listen to him. Not only him, people like him, even Mr. Advani, and we had some local leaders too who would be talking about things like Ram Krishna Hegde and those people. And then I was an ardent music, Hindustani music, classical music lover. Bhimsen Joshi is my most favorite person, Pandit Bhimsen Joshi. So I had a touch for the north, but never ever expected that it will be like what it was when I landed in Banaras. It was a totally different world.
Very different environment where you were.
Yeah.
I have to take a break. The discussion will continue. We'll come back soon. Welcome back. Dr. Prabhu, your desire was to come to IARI, Indian Agricultural Research Institute.
Yeah.
As compared to any other place in the world, because you got admission in various institutions across the world, why did you choose IARI?
Yeah, there's an interesting question because, as I said, my mother never protested against my decisions. I took this independently because I knew I was in the best institution of India, and then I knew that I will have to serve India. That was something which had turned me around because of two books I read. One by Ayn Rand, The Fountainhead.
Right.
And another by Swami Vivekananda, To the Youth of India. Both I won as prizes in some cultural or some of the academic activities in BHU. I was influenced so much, I knew that I would work for India. There was some kind of difficulty in many of my friends understanding.
Dr. Swaminathan's visit to BHU was also a turning point in your life.
There's another turning point. Yeah, there's another turning point to go to the farmers. Although we say Norman Borlaug referring to take it to farmers, Dr. Swaminathan was no less. He asked, we were displaying the first variety which my chairperson with whom I did my MSc had bred called Malviya Gehu 12, Bara, Malvi Bara. The first variety BHU had ever bred in wheat. That was the first one, and we were very happy about it because there's a great recognition that when a breeder's variety gets released, there's a great recognition. And it so happened Dr. Swaminathan, deputy chairman of Planning Commission, had come to BHU. And there was a crisis of food at that point of time. I'm talking about 1975 to 1979 period when I was doing my BSc, and then 80, 81. 80 was one of the periods when there was a lot of problems with wheat. There was an epidemic of rust.
Correct.
So that is the time.
Rust became a major problem in the country, and there was loss of production.
So when we were explaining this variety with a lot of pride, Dr. Swaminathan, a simple question. Tell me, how many farmers have got this? I was totally aghast. I never thought about it. That's something that has to happen before.
Till then you thought that your responsibility is to do research, you develop something and then it's over.
End of the story. I thought somebody else will take it from here. But I realized when you ask the question, it is very clear that we have to be the initiator for that also. We have to be the people who inspire, the people who produce seed, and also the farmers to change and adopt this material. So that is there's another turning point. So I was very sure that when I become a plant breeder and practice it, I will do this, and I have done that. That is what satisfies me to a large extent. So unknowingly these people do influence you so much, and Dr. Swaminathan, that simple question really turned me over into connecting myself to farmers.
After this, this interaction with Dr. Swaminathan, what was your big question as a scientist that you wanted to crack?
Yeah, the biggest question I still have in my question is about rust in wheat. There are some technical problems about the behavior of rust on the plant. I would like to crack it as a scientist, but then the next part which I my other which I always keep it as a goal of my life is to see that the farmers and the technologies are not separated. There should be no gap between the technological output and the farmers getting
The benefit out
of it and being able to get an access to it. So I would do everything possible in the system. In my current position as Joint Director Research.
Yeah, the first question, which is your big scientific question, for past 30 years almost, has eluded a final solution across the world. Everybody is trying to. Africa is getting affected by various kinds of rust and problems. Latin America is getting affected. Even China got affected, and some of the rust problem is moving from Africa to Iran to India. What is so difficult about it?
It is just not about rust in wheat. The problem is the same in the case of blast of rice or blight of rice or blight of wheat and aphid in mustard or things of this kind. They are all, what I mean is the diseases and now the changing climate based abiotic stresses, both are real enemies for crop production and productivity. But the point is the advancement in my science, which is my subject of interest, the genetics and plant breeding, has somehow been able to match the requirements of the natural problems by having solutions within the genome, which is what we are made of, to manipulate in such a way that the plants are able to cope with the pressure and be able to overcome that loss that they would have otherwise gone through had they not been.
So we have been able to arrest it.
Yes.
But have you been able to solve the problem?
I would say the solution lies in living in harmony without affecting each other. Nature should be worked with in that perspective, because otherwise, because both are living systems, at least the biotic stresses, both are living systems, and the higher pressure you pressurize the organism, more is the evolution pace with which it will cope. So what we should do is make it live on a basis without harming the plant. Live, all right, take the plant for your life, but do not harm it and manage to control it that way. That means you reduce the pace of their development. That's what we are doing.
Your major work also has been, which has made the country, you've made the country proud, in the area of Basmati.
Yes.
You have worked with the teams that have secured Basmati, one as Indian,
yes,
of Indian origin.
Yeah.
Secondly, that the farmer that is growing Basmati gets the benefit out of it.
Yes.
Would you like to talk about this story? What is the international scenario? What is the national scenario? What is the minimum secured price for the farmer? These have been controversial areas.
Yeah, not controversial, but they are problem areas. See, Basmati, as it developed in the early pre-independent India, bordering the Indo-Gangetic plain, ranging from Pakistan or Punjab, Pakistan, to the Dehradun, Tarai region in India. That stretch, which now comprises, in Indian circumstance, about 77 districts in the 7 states of Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Haryana, Punjab, Delhi, then Western Uttar Pradesh. These are the areas where this region is.
This is Basmati bowl.
Yeah, this is where Basmati zone or something like that. But the problem was the trade, which identified this as a premium product of India, developed some consumer base in European systems, and they were insistent on their being orthodox in their way of life and being able to purchase, like the organic agriculture point, they would like to purchase on at a higher price. The same kind of ability made them restrict themselves to a particular material as only to be called Basmati. Those had the which we call traditional Basmati, the Dehraduni Basmati or things like that. They had the limitation of being extremely long in duration, then being photo and thermosensitive, which means they would not be able to adjust to any changes that would happen. And
Climatic changes.
Yeah, and they would also lodge because of the tallness. They would also lodge quickly and yield only about 2.5 to 2 tons per hectare, which is very low in terms of rice potential.
As compared to other varieties of rice.
Other varieties
We'll
of rice.
continue the discussion. I have to take a break. Don't go anywhere. We'll come back soon. Welcome back. Dr. Prabhu, it's been an extremely important question for the country that we grow rice. We not only grow rice, we protect Basmati, which the yield is lower as compared to other varieties. And we also pass on the benefit of research to the farmer. Now, what are the intricacies of this whole chain?
Yes. See, as I said,
especially in the light of international scenario.
Yeah.
Because there has been a controversy. Somebody tried to in
right. That's right.
United States of America. They tried to patent it and all that.
Yes. Yeah. The attempt to patent was made. Of course, they could not.
They could not finally.
Yes. Yeah. I'll briefly touch on that also. First, this part which you asked very clearly, the point was traditional Basmati is unable to really do that what they could have done in terms of making farmers get better money. But because of this trade restriction, they were not allowing us to improvise, and we knew we had the capability, fantastic people in India in terms of genetics and plant breeding. There is one area where we rub shoulder to shoulder in science in any international levels. As far as genetics and plant breeding is concerned, no other country has done the kind of development we have done in India, which of course goes
and we have a lot to teach to the world in this particular area.
Sure, with achievements. That's the reason we have a food secure today.
And as a responsible country, we have really taught and collaborated with countries in Africa and other.
We have done. Not only Africa and other countries also. In the SARC. The point is they were, as I said, they were traditional, were unable to produce as required. So we had the technology with us, but we were prevented because of these trade issues. So it took me a lot of time, almost 3.5 years from 2005 to 2008, 3.5 years it took almost to convince the Ministry of Commerce, Ministry of Agriculture and several other fellow players in the game to allow us the freedom to use the science of genetics to bring the Basmati trait as it should be in varieties which are shorter in duration, shorter in height, which are able to respond to fertilizers, be less sensitive to light and less sensitive to thermal variations, and be able to produce more for the small area, which is what I mentioned, to produce better and higher quality material in larger quantity for better returns to happen. So that
and higher yields.
Yeah, and higher yield, that's what, higher yield for better returns. So that's what happened in 2008. See, and from that,
your research almost doubled the yield.
Yes. At that time, the annual say trade export was around 900 to 1,000 crores. Today, that is I am talking about 2007-8. Now 2014, it is crossed 35,000 crores.
About just 6-7 years.
Yes, just export, and there was equal, a little more than equal in the domestic trade too, because it has spread into the domestic market too. So the market is going to be real big.
It's exploding.
It is. And like tea or like other good refreshing consumables which we consume, Basmati rice is one which once somebody consumes and likes it, will never drop it till the doctor tells them.
You get addicted.
Yes, you get addicted to it in a way. Healthy addiction, that is. You get addicted to it. And I know therefore the market is there.
But this also is a highly political questions we are dealing with, that some of these states which cannot produce that kind of, that quality of rice are claiming that they should be included into the big question.
Yes, you're right.
What is your opinion as a scientist about it?
See, as a plant breeder, I would be very happy if my variety is grown in larger areas, because for us that's a recognition, like the fan following a hero has. In our case, in plant breeders case, the amount of number of farmers, the amount of seed produced and the number of farmers using it and the area that the material covers is an indicator for the success of a breeder. Like I have a proud announcement to make using this interview, that one of the varieties of wheat which we have produced with me as a team leader has now covered almost 8 million hectares in less than 3 years, which is a world record.
Congratulations.
In wheat. Similarly, in the case of Basmati too, about say 80% of the Basmati produced and the traded rice in the world is Pusa Basmati 1121, which is one of the varieties in which I was involved in production with. So it is this part which is very important to announce. But nevertheless, if doing that reduces the quality of that material, I would be the last person to allow that to happen. So I know that there are some aromatic, see Basmati is not just aroma, it also has other things like the stability of the grain when it cooks, the length, the expansion it takes, and the narrowness in its elongation that happens, and the ratio of expansion it has to have, and the other qualities of mouth feel when you put that grain in your mouth.
These parameters can be codified scientifically.
Yes, scientifically. There are instruments and the mechanisms to identify them. There are a lot. Some of them sensory evaluation like the tea testers, similar thing there too. We have all of them. And I know when you go below this region which I mentioned to you, the temperatures when the grain formation happens are slightly higher in the night time than what is required for the acetylpyrrolene, which is what makes it the two genomic regions called BADH and BADH1 and 2. These are the two genomic regions which are required for it, and particular alleles which make that compound express in a way. That is the volatile compound. If the temperatures are high, like it happens with other aromatic
so
compounds.
In areas where temperatures are high, you cannot probably grow stable basmati rice
of that quality.
Yes. So those areas have to be marked in the country where good quality or the highest quality basmati rice can be grown. What I would like to ask you is that in today's world where agriculture has come a long way, you could control temperatures, pressures, everything, anywhere in the world. So if other countries try to produce it and push it, how do we block them?
You are very right. Just like champagne is protected, just like Darjeeling tea protected in India, or Burgundy or any other such Scotch whiskey is protected, we had to protect Basmati in India. There is a provision called geographical indication, which is what Government of India is now trying to work out, because I am afraid if we do not do this, we are not only going to lose it to other countries. Basically, Pakistan is one country which officially is in that region of geographically feasible area for Basmati, is one area, one country which can definitely do it. And the point of we losing market and their getting market will mean our farmers losing their heart. And the Basmati brand which India has is going to be lost if we do not regulate this. So in the interest of the country and in public interest, we have to protect it. Like Darjeeling tea could also be grown in Assam. Right? Assam
but we
tea is
protect
different.
it. We notify
so therefore
the area.
The Assam tea with its features is called Assam tea, labeled as Assam tea. The Darjeeling tea is Daj tea, the Coorg tea is Coorg tea, like that. So we have to do this.
So the political leadership has to take the call whether we are going to lose the opportunity or gain the upper hand in the world market.
Government of India has taken a positive step in this, and because
we have to be in a hurry.
Yeah, we have to be in a hurry. Yes, you are right.
We should do it as fast and as quickly as
possible.
Very well said.
Yeah, very well said.
Your work has been recognized not only in India but internationally. Which of the awards that you got is most precious to you?
Most precious to me is the Rafi Ahmed Kidwai Award given by my own country, because there is nothing that gives you the pleasure of recognition when people with whom you have lived, with whom you have worked, recognize you. Outside the country, even if people recognize you, when you come back to the country, if that is not recognized, you do not get that kind of achievement, sense of achievement that you get.
So Barlog Award gave you national pride as well.
Yeah, of course. Barlog Award does give me that pleasure. But as I said, the best award I rate is the Rafi Ahmed Kidwai Award, which is the best award the Government of India gives to an agricultural scientist. So I relish that much. But other than that, I have had opportunity of getting other recognitions too, like the
If you are given a chance to live the life again, will you again go for a job in IARI?
Of course. Of course. So there is no
It
doubt
still
about it.
remains the best
Yeah.
of the institution in the
Yes.
world.
Yeah, yeah. And the potential is still so great to bring. There are several areas in India which we now identified as that can be developed. Now, IARI is one capable institution that can do that.
Is it still attracting best of the minds?
Yes, it is. In the funding, we are getting the best funding that the government can ever think of giving to. We are very grateful to Government of India for that purpose, and encouraging us to sometimes, as I said, go against the tide. Even if the government policy at one point of time did not allow us to think of that, we were able to convince. That's because we have a standard, and our expertise is respected by the Government of India. So therefore, we are able to do that.
Would you like to sign off by giving a message to younger generation?
Yeah. Agriculture as a science is something that now all encompassing. It is not somebody's not cup of tea anymore. Everybody's cup of tea is agriculture, because every area in expertise, including physics or aeronautical science, or even the astronomy, can be
management.
or management can be effectively used in agriculture, and the scope is immense, and it is limitless to an extent, because as long as agriculture remains as the basic requirement for survival and secure India and for advancement, agriculture as a science should be something that I want youngsters to take, because I have taken it living engineering as my course, and I am living and successfully doing so. And I request all of you to consider this as an option, equal option, and then explore your potential in agriculture as a science.
Consider agriculture as one of the options, and you can be an excellent scientist in that area. Serve the country and serve the last poor person in the country. That is the message we take back home today. May I, on your behalf, promise our viewers that you will be happy to answer any question that they have?
Most happy.
Write to us if you have any question or comment. Our email address is eureka@rstv@gmail.com. We'll come back next week with another fascinating scientist. Till then, goodbye. Thank you very much for giving us so much of time.
Thank you too.
It was great to talk to you.